Welcome to The Kingdom, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics in a land defended by Sir Ross's Knights. Now here's your host, Rocco Jeppy.
Hello, Knights Nation, and welcome back. I'm Rocco Jeppy here for The Kingdom Podcast, episode number 24. And today we're going baseball. It's that time, and it just so happens that on this date that we are recording the episode, pitchers and catchers are reporting to the MLB. Pitchers and catchers reported about a month ago in the JUCO ranks because season's about 2 weeks away. With me today is my co-host. He's back, Aaron Thomas. Aaron, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me. It was a long winter break. Winter's still going on, but it was a long holiday break, and I'm glad to be back doing the podcast with you once again.
We're glad to have you back. Of course, we had your voice on the last episode with those post-game interviews. Today we have baseball in mind, baseball on the brain, and joining us for the 2020 baseball season preview is our head coach, Sean O'Connor. Sean, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, Sean, we'll jump right in here for you. Obviously, there's a new sheriff in town. Head coach Mike Carter left last season to head back to his alma mater in Allegheny. We wish him good luck, except for obviously the times that we take on the Trojans. For you, why CCBC Essex?
Well, ironically, I was doing the transition for me from where I was living. I was at DeMatha for 21 years. I lived in Perry Hall and commuted from Perry Hall to DeMatha. Now, my daughter is now 11 in middle school, and it's kind of a reverse thing. I'm coming from Silver Spring now to Perry Hall. So kind of a family thing in a situation where it was the right fit. Looking to get into college, which was a great opportunity, and obviously the tradition and history of this program, a lot of people know about.
Well, that's good. I mean, right place, right time has so much to do with things, not just in the sports world, but in any profession. Obviously, we're glad to have you, and kind of takes me into my next question. When we hired you in August, it was not that you didn't know, but it was almost, hey, congratulations, you're the head coach, and here you have a roster of 6 or 7 players. When you guys head down to North Carolina, it's looking like we're more north of 25 at this point. How'd you do that?
Go and use connections. Obviously, being a high school guy for a while, I knew a lot of guys in different areas and reached out right away, used the internet. Best friend of a junior college coach. Tried to get guys that wanted to be here, reached out to the school. I know Coach Wickhock, yourself, had guys that were in the area that were already attending CCBC. I think if you look at our roster, I think we'll have 4 players that will be on our active roster that were active last year. So you want to talk about a complete turnover of a roster. It's been an interesting challenge.
Yeah, no doubt. And you talk about the internet, it amazes me how many coaches still out there, especially at this level, aren't, and I don't mean you have to fully embrace it and be on it 24/7, but that aren't embracing the internet and social media as a means of finding players.
Well, I don't think it's a way you can obviously recruit players. I think it's a way you can create a conversation. I think it's a way you can find guys, information, because unfortunately on the internet there's an edit button.
Yeah.
And in the game of baseball, there isn't an edit button. So you still need to see guys play, you need to have conversations, but you see the tools, you see the skills that go. I think what's ironic now is you see the influx of travel and showcase baseball and how that's kind of merged together where there really isn't a difference in travel or showcase baseball. And then you get to kids that are now at the point of their senior, we're coming into February, and still don't know where they're going to go to college. Have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and an opportunity of just playing college baseball is something that now they're looking at and saying, hey, Essex might be an opportunity for me.
Absolutely.
So the recruiting process obviously is a big part of this job, but the product on the field is the end-all, be-all. What's your baseball philosophy? Can you cue us in on some of the things that we can look forward to this season with this team on the field?
Well, it's not a video podcast, so you won't tell by my body, but I like to run. We are super aggressive. I think in the fall we broke all kinds of running records. We'll run. My object is to make all 27 outs at home. We'll end innings at third base trying to steal. We won't tag up in certain situations. We want to be as super aggressive as possible that we possibly can. We also want to do things, instead of doing them till we can't do it right, we want to do it till we can't do it wrong. So you'll see us constantly work on first and third plays and bunt coverages and stuff that are huge, that I believe are the difference maker in a game if we play, at the level we want to be at. We want to be in Oklahoma. We'll openly talk about that. That's not our definition of what is success or failure, but our goal is to be the best team the last game we play.
That's an awesome thing that you point in there. It's not the definition of success or failure, the end goal, but it's certainly something that you should be talking about and putting into the player's mind. And, that brand of baseball that you just described is definitely a foreign concept here in Baltimore. People growing up with Earl Weaver and then Buck Showalter later on in years. But it kind of sounds like Whitey ball, old school 80s Cardinals baseball.
Well, you're looking at a guy that Ozzie Smith's my favorite player. I grew up watching the Cardinals. It's definitely a style that I would like to see in Major League Baseball. I also think at the game of baseball, especially if you want to talk high school, now you're talking junior college, there's so many things that have to go right for that out to happen. The guy's got to throw the ball, the guy's got to catch the ball, and then God forbid the umpire's got to make the right call. There's a lot of things that have to happen that puts you in a situation that isn't a 50-50 scenario. So if you press the issue and put guys in, I think guys buy in, that they get a little ownership. If you look at my teams that I coached at DeMatha and now the teams that we have, I'm not going to stereotype, but I kind of feel like if you looked at our roster this year compared to what I saw, and I watched a lot of video, I watched a lot of your guys' broadcasts on the air, I think we're more athletic. And I think when you have more athletic kids and you allow them to be athletic, they have more fun. And if they're more fun, they're going to be able to perform at a higher level, and that's going to make you as a coach a lot better.
One of the things I liked almost right away, and even in those early conversations, is that I believe you and your coaching staff are a perfect mix of old school, new school. I mean, we've had conversations where you said, look, I'm going to steal a base from second when it's not a popular out, and pitch count opportunity, where people normally would not steal a base. But in the same sense, you show up to practice, and I'm sure when games start, you have coaches and student athletes with iPads and other video recording devices, because they're using those analytics and those video images to make themselves better, and you guys are using that stuff to show them not only what they're doing wrong, but get into that conversation about how to make it better.
Yeah, we have a thing called a pitch logic ball. It came out less than 3 months ago. It basically tells a kid when he throws the pitch instantaneously what his spin rate is, where the velocity, where it moves, and different things like that. It's a Rapsodo machine in a baseball. So we have that ability that our kids go, they throw a bullpen. They're not throwing all 20 pitches in that, but they'll throw 5 or 6. And unfortunately, we live in a world where you have to show me. And this now gives them the ability of showing them what they're doing right or doing them wrong, as opposed to the world of I'm telling you you're not out in front or you're short arming your ball. Now the whole thing, this controls arm angle, and obviously that having skills like that's going to prevent injuries, and I think that's huge.
It's awesome. Of course, we have more questions for Coach. We're up against our first commercial break. When we get back, we're going to tell you where he came from. We heard a little bit about it earlier, but we're going to give you more information. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college.
Times have changed.
We've changed. I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt.
I will not confuse a fancy name with a quality education.
Let's talk practical.
Let's talk flexible.
Let's talk smart education.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at ccbcmd.edu and see what you can be.
All right, we're back, folks. Don't forget, you still have an opportunity to sign up for those late start classes. Go to ccbcmd.edu to find out more information. You can also call the college if folks out there are still doing that nowadays. It's 443-840-2222. It's 443-840-CCBC. We are back. Aaron Thomas and Rocco Jeppe here with head baseball coach Sean O'Connor. And Sean, we were talking a little bit about where you come from, and we already heard that you're from DeMatha. 10 years wildly successful at DeMatha from 09 to 19 as the head varsity coach. Over 200 wins, including 2 Washington Catholic Athletic Conference championships, 6 finals appearances, and 3 Maryland Private School championships. I say wildly successful because in order to win 5 Coach of the Year awards from the American Baseball Coaches Association, the Maryland State Coaches Association, and the WCAC, you have to have some sort of success going on. So tell the folks who are listening, your years at DeMatha and how what you learned there is going to help you at the JUCO level.
Well, obviously, it's a great program and a great success. It was my alma mater. I graduated from there in 1994. Went to Western Maryland and came back and actually immediately coached in 99 and was there from there until last year. What that program really taught me, obviously, is who I was as a person, accountability, working hard, having a work ethic that's kind of a hard hat work ethic, and putting in that scenario. We've done everything. We traveled, obviously, from a Catholic perspective. We were recruiting kids. So all the stuff that you would do at a small junior college level is stuff that we did. We ran camps, which we're running our first camp this coming up weekend. So obviously it might be after when the podcast is happening, but our whole idea is to bring, awareness to the program and different things that come across. And then, just like anything, the reason you have success is great players. When you've had the fortune to coach a Major League All-Star and a first-round draft choice, I was pretty good that year. I didn't have the luxury, and in my fortune of there, we had 15 kids drafted. I sent 200 kids off to college. Had catchers that were Team USA's national catcher. Kids drafted from that position at a high school. So that makes you really good. Had really good assistants there. I've learned from that situation that you better have good assistants at this level.
Yeah.
And I've hired three of the best that I know, a former player of mine and a mentor and 2 friends.
Well, I'm going to get to a follow-up question, but first I have to know, as I'm sure folks that are listening are going to want to know, who was the former All-Star that you
Brett
ran?
Cecil. So Brett Cecil pitched in the Blue Jays organization, has a major league record now for, I think, scoreless innings. Nice. That he pitched, and then signed a nice big contract for the Cardinals. And since he signed that contract, I don't think he's pitched. Hopefully this year he had an injury. Last year, hopefully he'll be back, and then hopefully we'll be able to watch him when he comes to Baltimore.
So as a formal or current, I guess, fan of the Cardinals, have you hit him up for a hat or a shirt or something yet?
I normally don't do that. I hate to say this, but when I talk to Brett or we talk on the phone or different things, I'm just checking to see how he is. I really don't try to treat him any differently. One of the coolest things that we were talking is we had a shirt at one day that was a Superman logo that had our high school logo in it. And I said, hey bud, here's a shirt. Here's some DeMatha gear. And he said, hey, Coach, I lost my shirt. Reyes wanted it he's a huge Superman fan. So he took my shirt. So one of the things that was cool is just to understand that, he's proud of his school and obviously graduated from the University of Maryland too. But to put those guys in the situation. But it's really neat. I got kids all over minor league ball, independent ball. I had a former player that I coached in the summer that got drafted in the 5th round by the Diamondbacks. Those type of kids to come and they'll be on campus here at Essex to be able to help the kids. Hey, this is where you want to go. It's a possibility. Yeah. Keeps the dream open, I guess.
You talked about at DeMatha is where it taught you work ethic. Talk about that a little bit more and how you are imparting that on CCBC Essex baseball student athletes.
Well, I think the lesson I learned at DeMatha is just do what you say you're going to do. I think a lot of people will come across guys that are successful at certain places and characterize them as almost arrogant, if you want to call that. And I don't think it's an arrogance. I think it's a confidence. And the idea of saying, I'm going to do this, now deliver.
Right.
Hey, I'm going to ask you guys to go to class. Don't tell me you're going to go to class. Go to class. It's a small thing, but I think once you start building small things with these kids and they start getting small yeses, it becomes a lot easier for them to get big things. And, we started that where we have an app that we brought in that our kids will go to class. They check into class. I know exactly where they are when they go there, and you'll see them, their success rate and their smiles when they have something, hey coach, class got canceled today. They weren't telling me that in the fall. They weren't bragging about that, but they're so proud of their attendance record and what they're doing. And I hate to say it, when you start winning at small things, the big things will take care of itself.
Oh yeah, definitely.
One of the things that you said a couple minutes ago that really stood out to me is you said you graduated in '94 from DeMatha, and then you were back there coaching in '99. So was coaching always on your mind? Was that always a goal of yours that you always wanted to get back into baseball or get into coaching baseball?
So coaching I got hurt in college. My senior year of high school, I tore my meniscus. I lost scholarship offers. So back then, scholarships were signed in the spring. So I still had offers and opportunities. So I decided to go Division III route and went to Western Maryland. And because of me playing with that meniscus, I herniated a disc in my back, and my playing career was over in 2 years. So my goal was to be a Major League Baseball player, just like anybody. But just like a dog that goes on a racetrack, once you get the rabbit, you don't run anymore. And I think once that injury happened, it became something like that. I was asked to coach. Actually, the funny part is the first team I was asked to coach was with Coach O'Brien, who's our pitching coach. He asked me to coach his son's team. I was an assistant on that team 20-some years ago. And the rush I got out of coaching was just like it was when I was playing. And it's in a rush. You know, it's a way to teach kids to get through that. There's nothing better than watching a kid get it. And even better, now that I'm old, there's nothing better than 20 years, them coming back and saying, you know, Coach, you were pretty hard on me, but thank you. And that's all you do it for.
That's great. This is awesome. We are definitely going to be talking about some more of those kids when we return. We got to hit another commercial break. We'll be back shortly, though. We are here, Rocco Jeppe and Aaron Thomas, with head baseball coach Sean O'Connor. You're listening to the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed, and I say no to an education at the cost of crippling debt, because paying off student loans for the next 30 years is not in my financial plans.
Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online and see what you can be.
Rocco Jeppe back here alongside co-host Aaron Thomas and head baseball coach Sean O'Connor, the Kingdom Podcast. We thank you for tuning in, and we thank you for keeping this going. We appreciate your viewer and listening-ship. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to write Merriam-Webster tomorrow and see if I can get it in. This doesn't work without folks like you, so thank you very much for continuing to tune in. We appreciate that. We got more questions for Coach O'Connor here. Let's talk about some of these student athletes, Aaron.
Yeah, you talked about a lot of newcomers onto the team, and you talked about the recruiting process. What is, from what you've seen so far in practice, how do you think that they're adjusting to this new life of being a college baseball player?
Well, that's the kind of the everyday not sleeping at night. Obviously we started January 1, which was probably the last night I got a pretty good night's sleep, because as we got closer, it was about, okay, who's showing up, or how do we get paperwork in, what are we doing, and the reality is I'll be able to tell you February 27th how we adjust. I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to be pretty good. We have some talent, but again, we also have 24 new baseball players in a lot of places that haven't ever played college baseball. And I think traditionally, if you look at teams that aren't successful, a lot of times it's from inexperience. So you got a lot of freshmen. I think we'll start probably 8 guys or 9 guys that have never played a college baseball game in North Carolina when we head down, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge for us as a coach to get them prepared for that. No matter what you say, it's going to be faster than anything they've ever seen in their life.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to say. It's definitely the fact of the matter. The good thing, though, is while it's not many of them, you do have some returning student athletes, both as participants in last year's team, and we have a red shirt or two. We have a red shirt returning. Talk about those returners and how, with them having been through this before, what their contributions are going to mean to the team this year.
Oh, they're going to have to be huge leaders. I mean, you look at Ronnie Jones, you look at Rocco Marquez, Jeff Young. Those guys have to be our rotation. They have to give us innings. They have to be the leaders on the mound. You have Nick Berryman, who's still recovering from an injury, and hopefully will be healthy and be able to maybe be in our lineup towards the end of the year, at least being able to throw or a different situation like that. And Luis Gonzalez, who basically can play anywhere on the field. Those 5 kids are our returners. 4 played last year, 1 being Nick that was redshirted, coming off of Tommy John surgery. But those kids are going to have to help us in the process and help us as a coaching staff. I think this sounds crazy, but even in the come to, hey, coach, you need to park over here because this is where you park at CCB Catonsville. I mean, those are things that you don't think about, but we're having our kids kind of go in that situation of X, Y, and Z to help through the process, which is huge.
Specifically on some of those returners, you have Jeff Young returning. He was a starter last year, and we were in the gym during practice the other day, and our athletic director, Greg Whitcop, said to him, he says, you look bigger as you get bigger. And Jeff told us that he put on about 10 pounds of muscle in the off season. You got Ronnie Jones going from, he was primarily a reliever last season to he's going to start this year. And then you got Rocco Marquez, who showed some signs last year. He was, if memory serves, he was voted the team's most valuable pitcher. Talk about each one of those individually and the transitions and some of the things you're working on with them.
Well, Jeff has been the guy. I mean, he was a big rotation guy for the team last year. Pitched in the playoffs as a true freshman. Got some postseason accolades. I believe he was honorable mention, I want to think, last year. But he's shown signs of obviously getting stronger, working on secondary pitches, different things like that. Ronnie is a confidence thing. I think Ronnie might have the best arm of the 3 guys in the program. Ronnie's just got to understand that he's got to throw balls away from the middle of the plate. Attack the outside corner of the plate, and then I think Rocco is probably your best pure pitcher. Has multiple pitches backwards a lot of times. Will throw a pitch and you'll go, where did that come from? It's just that's it. But he knows how to pitch. I think all 3 are unique in a scenario. I think all 3 are hugely taking advantage of Coach OB. And his ability to teach. We used to almost say he has a different language, and he's able to get to kids and get the best out of them. Our goal with any of these kids, and we tell them all the time, is we're just trying to not get you hurt. I mean, we want you to be successful. We want you to be that, but we're going to try to put you in a position. I think we're going to have close to 14 kids that'll throw this year.
Nice.
Wow.
We went through the fall in a scenario because of injuries and different things in a shorter roster where we did the whole 13 Little League Baseball. Has anybody ever pitched before? And we're going to do that in some scenarios. The schedule we have where we play 3 doubleheaders in 3 consecutive days, you just don't have enough pitching to just do that with a staff. Right. So you're going to have to go get guys. I would expect Jeff to be one of the best pitchers returning with pedigree, barring anything crazy happening with arms and different things like that. He looks stronger. He looks like he's an ability, and he's going to throw less innings than he threw last year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not going to try to put a kid out there that much.
You know what I like about Rocco is, other than his name, of course, is when you look at him on the mound, like if we were to play video of his games last year, turn down the sound and take away the scoreboard overlay, you just looking at him, you very hard pressed to tell whether the team is winning, losing, up by 5, down by 3. His ability on the mound to stay, for lack of a better term, locked in is really impressive for somebody of his age.
Yeah, and some, we had a fall game against Montgomery, and he pitched lights out. I mean, it was unbelievable. And he was like, wow, that was pretty special. And then we had a game against Catonsville where he got hit a little bit. And you looked at it and go, well, but there wasn't a change in demeanor in either type of those scenarios. Now, coming into the dugout, there was a little bit different as far as that, and that's what made me kind of like a kid like that. Is I don't want a kid that isn't happy with his performance. I want you to work hard.
Sure.
But in that moment, he was able to do good things, which I'm really happy with. Ronnie, the other kid we talk about, that's the skill. And that you talk about each 3 kids, which, I mean, obviously we have more kids in our program, but those are returners. The benefit of that is each one of those 3 kids can help each other because there's a weakness that one has that the other is their strength.
Right.
So, that's a benefit to our staff and our program.
So we talked a lot about the players, both returning players and incoming players, your coaching staff as well. What's the goal for this season? Now, you already talked about you're talking to your players about Oklahoma, but you don't think that that's defined success. So what's the goal? What does define success?
20 years from now. Not to be, obviously that sounds like a cliche answer, but it's what these kids turn in 20 years from now. Our goal is simply we want to win a national title. We're not going to back away from that. Anybody that plays sports, we talked to this yesterday, there's no such thing as a non-conference game or that. If there's a scoreboard, we should win it. That's you're playing a game. That's important. That you don't do it at all costs, but you want to go and you want to win the game. So we're not going to back away from our goal is to win our last game. It's as simple as that. But the definition of where we want to be is the stuff we're doing, which is kids graduating. I think this year we'll have, I want to say, 6 kids that will graduate.
Nice.
Which is, I think that's important. I think talk to kids and make sure they're academically on progress, making sure they're getting to 4-year schools. That's an important thing that in baseball it sounds easy, but when you're playing 56 games in the spring, you need to help kids to make sure they have the classes, to make sure they're moving in the right direction, because they could do all this and then all of a sudden academically they're not ready for the next thing.
Well, what was it, Rocco? About 3-4 months ago, we sat here in the same spot with Coach Mike Sini, and the women's head basketball coach, and we asked him what his end goal was, and he said something very similar, and it's worked out for him so well. So we wish you the same kind of success moving forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We are not done with Coach O'Connor. We're going to hit our final commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about some of the support cast here on the Kingdom Podcast, a podcast dedicated to CCBC Essex Athletics.
Let's talk about college. Times have changed, and I refuse to accept an education that comes with a mountain of crippling debt. Because paying off student loans for the next 30 years is not in my financial plans.
For all the practical thinkers, the achievers, the can't wait to get started types out there, your community college is waiting. Rethink what's possible with CCBC. Visit us online at CCBCMD.edu and see what you can be.
All right, coming down the home stretch for this episode number 24 of the Kingdom Podcast. And don't forget, check us out on Twitter at CCBC Essex Sports. And if you have any questions that you would like to know, like us to find out from our coaching staff, student athletes, hit us up on Twitter at CCBC Essex Sports. Use the hashtag The Kingdom Podcast. I'm Rocco Jeppe back here with my co-host Aaron Thomas and head baseball coach Sean O'Connor. Sean, obviously, there's no head man that does these things him or herself. Talk about your coaches and who you got with the team this year and what they bring.
Well, I think the easy one is Tim O'Brien. That's the one to start with. Coach O'Brien's been coaching a long time. Let's just say that. He was actually just inducted in the Maryland State Hall of Fame for baseball coaches this past weekend. He was a pitching coach at UMBC. He coached Long Reach High School. He actually was the first ever women's national pitching coach for the United States Baseball Federation. So pretty good pedigree of a guy that he works with our pitchers and our catchers. Paul DePino, very good friend of mine. I coached his older sons and now his younger son through the process in the showcase world. Paul played soccer and baseball here at Essex, went on to Elizabethtown, ended up signing out of college a professional contract with the Atlanta Braves organization. So that's a pretty nice guy to be around the infield. And then Derek McPherson, who does our outfield and conditioning. What a lot of people don't know about Derek, it's kind of crazy to say this, Derek was the number 2 wide receiver in America. Went to the University of Florida, ended up not going to Florida because Ron Zuck had lost the job at that point, ended up going to Illinois, played in Illinois. His younger brother, Matt, who was a high school baseball player, needed somebody to run a 60 with for a pro workout. He decided to run the 60, ran a 6.2 60, and the Milwaukee Brewers signed him as a free agent and played in the Midwest League. So obviously a guy that is pretty good for teaching speed, but one of those athletic guys that does well. Fantastic teachers, all have individual interest that they're going to be and really do have an interest in the kids and helping the kids. What great guys to be around.
So season's getting started fairly soon for you here, Coach. February 28th and 29th, you guys are going to be playing 4 games against Caldwell Community College and Technical down in Boone, North Carolina. Ordinarily this would be the spot where I would say I'm sure you're looking forward to getting away from the cold Maryland weather. I don't know if it's been so much cold lately than dreary, but getting down to North Carolina should be fun nonetheless. In that trip, what are you hoping to accomplish? What are you hoping to learn from this team?
I think, obviously we don't have the luxury of playing scrimmages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's college baseball. You don't play scrimmages at our level. So finding out who we are. Obviously, we'd love to go 4-0. The bus ride will come back better. Bojangles will taste a whole lot better at 4-0. Maybe Zaxby's, depending on – we got tons of options to think about. Those are definitely what I'm worried about in the trip is all the good things you can eat in the South. But, I think finding out who we are, an identity, a little team bonding, and then unfortunately, typical Maryland, come back and probably be off for 3 weeks because there'll be snow on the ground. So the biggest thing that we have to do is put ourselves in a situation where we can figure out what we can do, because there's no reason we might not play again for 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. We might come back and play Catonsville on that Tuesday and everything's great and it's 70 degrees in Maryland because we have that type of weather around here. But trying to find out where we are and who we are, as we talked about, trying to measure what type of a college team and see what we can do.
It's going to be a learning experience. Win, lose, draw, hopefully win. But it's going to be a learning experience. I think that's what we got.
Yeah, we're going to learn something. I don't know if it'll be good or bad, but we're going to learn something. Hopefully it's good.
Well, during this learning process, you're definitely going to have a lot of home cooking. Looking at this schedule, I know in the 5 years I've been here, I don't think I've seen anything like this. 30 of 47 games are going to be at home. 64% of the schedule right here at the Castle, at the Kingdom. How big of an advantage is that? And on a lesser note, how big of a disadvantage can it be?
I like it because our kids are missing less class. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Our sophomores probably would rather have the other way because obviously, it's cool to miss school and different things like that. It makes it harder when you come back. My hope is we don't have 30 walk-offs because my body can't deal with that kind of situation, that we would have that. But, there's an advantage to hitting last. There's obviously an advantage for a home field advantage. We're doing our best. We have a big campaign that we're trying to go out and fix our field to make it the best it possibly can. That our field has always been an advantage. I hate to say that, but some guys are used to playing on AstroTurf, and we're not AstroTurf. Mm-hmm. We want to take advantage of that. It's a big pitcher's park, so go ahead and try to hit the ball to the moon because the ball's going to stay in the yard in our place, which obviously benefits a team that likes to run and pitch.
Not sure how much you've heard about this yet, but I will give you the warning now. Have you heard of the Prince of Shenanigans yet?
I've seen some videos of that, and the other thing I will say, which is unique, which people that are watching the podcast or watching the videos and understand, baseball players have much more personality than all these other sports. So understand that they're going to have fun, they're going to have a situation. So not only after we walk off and win our 30 games in the spring, expect the shenanigans and the different things that happen. Those might be its own podcast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the plan should be the Baseball Shenanigans podcast. We can do that and create a Patreon page, and it'd be great. We'd love it.
Wait, there's people who think baseball is boring?
There are people who think baseball is boring.
Well, you know what we say about them. We won't say that on the air. The Prince promises that they will have some good sketches this year. Last year, I want to say all but one were pretty good. I mean, they had one which was very apt in the background. They were jousting, and I thought that one was pretty good. They had another one where it was, I think Ronnie must have been sick that day because it was not good at all. But expect a lot of those good shenanigans this year with this team. Coach, is there anything else that we need to know about Essex baseball this season?
Just going to be fun. Obviously we'd love to have people come out. I think season tickets are almost sold out, so you probably want to hurry up to get there. Probably get there early. Make sure you bring all your cheering and different things like that. And then obviously, my best thing I'll tell you is make sure you support our other sports. Yeah. It's a big part of our identity as a program. That we take care of other sports and the situation. What's going on with our basketball program? I know this is a baseball preview, but what's going on with our basketball program is pretty special. To see that type of situation followed by what we saw at the soccer programs in the fall. I think you have to embrace when you see winning and winning done at a very high level, and come out to the Essex and watch some great sports. And I'm sure our lacrosse programs are going to be really good this spring. It'll be a fun place to catch some baseball games.
Well, it's spring's turn. In the fall, of course, we had the two soccer teams, wildly successful regional champions. Women's cross country regional champions. The women's basketball team looks like they're cruising to a regional championship and possibly national tournament berth. So it's spring's turn. We expect to continue to be busy. As many work days as it might be for our offices, we like to be busy. We like having things to work with and have to do. So good luck to you this season, Coach.
Here's what I'll promise you. Unlike the fall, when we make it to Oklahoma, it's going to be a lot hotter. Let's just put it like that. You won't have to worry about snow like they did in the regional soccer tournament.
Oh my goodness! Yes, that was quite a sight to watch online. All right, folks. Well, to check this team out more, head to the website ccbcessexknights.com. You can also follow them on Twitter at @EssexBaseball, at Essex_baseball_. And as always, you can follow us as well at CCBC Essex Sports. For my co-host Aaron Thomas and for our guest, head baseball coach Sean O'Connor, I'm Rocco Jeppy. Thanks again for tuning in. We hope you'll return next time. So long.